midweek in Kaikohe, and Moko Tepania, the youngest ever mayor of the far north, is doing the rounds.
I used to work here.
Pura mai moto kai ngā kau mō tēnei hapori?
A tāhua pai ne. A tāhua pai te hiko tika whānui. Mātua rā ko konei, ko te pō te wheke, ko kai kohe. Aroha katoa nau ki ngā tāngata, ki ngā kainoho o tēnei wāhi. Me te pakari, me te toa, me te aroha. Tērā uara Māori e kia nei ko te manaakitanga, ka kaha rangona, ka kaha kita i konei tēnei taone. Ko noho au ki konei mo tōna whetū tau i au nei nā. Morena. Nā, tirohia, nā. Tērā, te wairua harikoa. Kore pēr e kitea ki tauniki atu.
Moko's district is unique because over half the population is Māori. 4 of Northland's local councils now have specific Māori wards with Māori representatives, all of it made possible by a government decision in 2021, allowing councils to establish Māori wards rather than leaving it to the popular vote.
The discriminatory nature of these polls is not acceptable. Mr. Speaker, tonight we are rectifying that.
Then local government minister Nanaia Mahuta's action was an historic moment. It was also the result of some intense lobbying by Māori interest groups.
Well, Tamati Coffee received our petition and then Nanaia Mahuta responded to our petition by changing that law. We were ecstatic. And I think the proof is in the pudding. You know, we've gone from having 3 Māori wards established to 49 Māori wards in the matter of a few years. And what that goes to show is that Māori are ready and willing and able to step into leadership positions if you will just let us do that. And it's not to say that you won't get to be at the decision-making table anymore. It's actually about honouring the foundational agreement of this beautiful place that we call home, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, by saying, people from the non-Māori world and people from the Māori world, let's come together in partnership and make decisions together. That's what it's about.
And up north, it's been a hit.
Of course, anything to do with Māori I think is a benefit to not only our people but our areas.
Kei a mātou te mana, ko mātou te mana whenua.
We need our Māori voice to be heard.
Ahi ringa tana rod, te taihati tana waiai. Pata ringa, i te ao.
Babe Kapa is one of 4 councillors in Ngā Tai o Te Tokerau Māori ward.
Ki te wharere, ka kite rātu i te kanuhi Māori, te rau te tuatahi. Urua, ka rongo rātu i tō tātou reo, e kōrero hiana, e mahingi ana, i roto i te whare nei. Roa nei tērā, te tahi hea e o tātou mātua tūpuni konei. Tō toru, tautokongia, pautakaha, kia puta e tahi hua mo Māori. Pēnei i te consultation. E nui ngā ngā kōrero e roti ngā tuhi konei, he community. Nā ka pangātu tātou i raro i tērā āhutanga. Ngari iai nei, tā mātou kōrero, a tāua a ngā hoa i runga i te tiriti. Ko koe, te tiriti pāna, ko mātou te tangata whenua. Nā ka putatu o koutou kōrero ki te nuinga āmuri mātou. He mea nui hei timatatanga.
A historic moment in Northland. The Far North District Council voting 7-3 to introduce a Māori ward.
But celebrations were short-lived. Opposition came thick and fast, and the incoming National Coalition government answered the call.
We are going to entrust local communities to be able to vote on whether or not they should retain or not Māori wards in their communities. What's wrong with some democracy?
For Simeon Brown and the government, democracy means putting the issue of Māori wards to the popular vote, but not other wards, not urban or rural or general, just Māori.
This legislation is hugely discriminatory. It's completely unfair. This is why the local government sector asked the former government to change the provisions to poll, because it only applies to Māori representation. In our representation review, our formal one where we established a Māori ward, we established 1 Māori ward, 3 general wards and 13 community board subdivisions. But this legislation is saying that only the single Māori ward has to go to a poll or can be overturned by all electors. Our 3 general wards and our 13 community board subdivisions, they're fine. The public gets to have a say as a part of a representation review, but they don't get polled. That decision can't be determined by the public. You trust the people in these spaces, the mayor and councillors, to make decisions on behalf of the communities. And so it only applies to that single ward. It's hugely discriminatory. Why is the rule not the same for everyone?
Te te whānau, come and hui with me, Councillor.
Tāmati Rākina is another Māori ward councillor in the far north. He's of the same mind.
Yes, we are voted in by our Māori ward constituents, not by general ward constituents, but Māori ward constituents. Now, even though that's the case, we don't just tohe, we don't just whawhai for the roads that benefit Māori only, for the waters that benefit Māori only, housing, rates, every single thing. We fight for the things that matter the most to all constituents within the Far North District. So having that viewpoint of Te Ao Māori and Te Ao Pākehā is actually really, really beneficial to everyone.
And something you may not have been aware of.
Because you don't have to be Māori to run for a Māori ward or a Māori constituency. Anyone can run, and you're voted on by the Māori roll.
So you don't have to be of Māori descent to stand as a Māori ward councillor. Technically, it's open to anyone. But getting Māori wards in the first place has taken decades to achieve.
Yeah, so in my hometown of Taranaki, former Mayor Andrew Judd was trying to establish a Māori ward for a long time alongside his Māori colleagues. And he has publicly shared before stories of being spat at in the supermarket and being told that he is an awful person for wanting to essentially restore historic wrongs by establishing Māori wards. In New Plymouth, which is where I was born, Dini Moehu is the second ever Māori councillor to be elected in 100 years. And that's not because Māori haven't been standing for local council. I think in one of the years that he stood, 30 Māori people were also standing. It's that Māori are always going to have the odds stacked against us in an environment where we are the minority and the majority of voters in Aotearoa are non-Māori. And I think it's really important that we contextualise these moments in history. And in Taranaki in particular, Taranaki is one of the sites where significant amounts of our land was stolen from us. And they were stolen from us because we rebelled against the Crown's colonisation and theft of our lands. And then lots of that land that they confiscated from us was then given to British soldiers who fought against us as a reward for fighting against us. And many of their descendants still live on and extract from and build their wealth from our lands today. And so it's just very unlikely that those people are going to vote for anyone who is Hati Māori, who is Tūturu Māori. And so Māori wards are a way for us to rebalance that reality and ensure that Māori can have decision making over what happens to our whānau and our whenua.
And up north, there are those who say, just leave things alone. They're working fine, even though it's only been 2 years.
Because I want to see my daughter grow up in a world where people don't attack her from being Māori. It's horrible.
I don't think it should go to a poll. I don't think it's for everyone to decide. I just think it's for Māori to decide. Yeah, plain and simple.
After the break, the coalition is determined to change the rules over who has the say on Māori wards, but not without a fight. That's next. Nothing about creating Māori wards in the north has come easy. It's been rewarding, but it's also been hugely painful and revealing.
All the feedback around Māori wards, Māori representation, it was absolutely disgusting and racist. It was racist to the point where, a lot of us started tearing up. Even when the question wasn't asked around Māori representation or Māori wards, they had the cheek to write disgusting comments like, this is an apartheid, this is racism, 90% of council is now represented by Māori, that's too much representation.
I'm a huge believer in democracy and in people having a say, but I'm also a huge believer in fairness and equitable decision making.
And he's not alone in that. 50 mayors, that's 2 out of 3, signed a letter 2 weeks ago saying plans to force councils to hold referenda on Māori wards is government overreach.
You know, I have talked to some mayors that haven't signed it simply on the basis that they haven't had time to go through a longer discussion with their council to do it. So there may be some out there who at a personal level want to do it.
It's such an overreach. And I do think that there's no local in this.
Well, you know what our position is, we campaign on it, that this democracy should be equal.
The people of New Zealand have voted, far more people than voted for any mayor, have voted for a government that is now changing those laws.
This is a fundamental decision around how the councils should be set up, how those wards should be allocated, and we think voters should actually be able to determine whether or not there should be Māori wards.
What we are seeing from central government with these legislative changes is hypocrisy. It is so hypocritical that they are telling us, one, that you either need to disestablish your Māori ward, or two, take it to a poll of all electors. I'm not against the poll, I'm not against asking our people what they think, but I am against the fairness of the parameters that they're putting into this legislation. This is being led by a national-led government, and National themselves stood candidates in the Māori electoral seats that we have in Parliament.
The matter is now before a select committee and Māori are going hard, guns blazing.
We as a council have to work with 2 unsettled iwi. And this bill for us will cause us conflict because we have to work in a meaningful way with all our Māori respectively across our district.
The current coalition government are abhorrent with their divisive, non-inclusive agenda.
This U-turn on Māori wards by the government is very mean-spirited and is intended to put us Apati Māori in our place, which is kind of nasty.
The proposed legislation prompted an urgent inquiry at the Waitangi Tribunal. Te Raukura O'Connell Rapiha is a lead claimant.
Judge Sarah Reeves, who is the presiding officer of the Waitangi Tribunal claim, found that whole communities have benefited as a result of the strengthened relationships that have occurred between Māori and councils because of Māori wards being established. She also found that the number one risk to Māori at the moment, if these referenda go ahead, is that we will be exposed to racist, divisive rhetoric, but also that in not consulting or having any conversation with us as Māori about the future of Māori wards and simply riding roughshod over our rights, that the Crown is in breach of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And so her recommendation was that the Crown needs to stop the process and consult with Māori and have a conversation with us about how we can exercise our tino rangatiratanga.
Māori representation arrangements have unlocked something here in the far north and probably across Aotearoa that was just missing, you know. It's been over 180 years since the signing of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, but at a local government level there's been a huge disconnect with Te Tiriti partners, with iwi, with hapu, with whānau. Having this arrangement in place is unlocking that engagement, unlocking that whanaungatanga through hakapapa to see beautiful outcomes, the level of connect that we're having, the engagement, being able to get into communities that this district council has just never been able to in the past, never had that connect, never had that engagement, and now we suddenly are, and it can only do good for our people, being able to actually access, hear from them, and then do better for them as well.
After Select Committee, the proposed local government amendment bill will have 2 readings in the House. The government wants change and wants it quickly, which is why the bill has placed under urgency.
I really just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you all for this incredible journey you'll be on.
When Moko Tepania welcomed the new ward councillors in 2022, he never dreamt they'd be under threat just 2 years later, and he questions the motivation behind it.
It comes down to trust, and it's really laughable, eh? In all honesty, when you look at it like that we can, on behalf of our communities, determine how they're represented for general wards and for community board subdivisions, but not for a single Māori ward. Why? That's the big question.